guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Maureen. I'm a teacher turned homeschool mom to 3 little kids, and on this channel I share all about our journey, things that we're doing, and all the fun things in between. And so today I wanted to share with everyone 6 steps to creating your own lesson plans. These are just 6 steps I take to do them. So if you have your own steps that you like to include in them or something that you find useful, please drop them in the comments below and I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so there are 6 things I do when I want to teach my own main lesson, right? So I've done a lot of research in terms of how to create my own main lesson, because a lot of what I did research when I wanted to try and do a Waldorf-ish style of homeschool, I found that a lot of stuff out there was very much Eurocentric or not catered towards me and my family. And that's really true of a lot of curriculum out there. And so I felt like I needed to curate it in a certain way that would be compatible with my family and the way we think and the way we want to do things. And so I found that this was the most useful in terms of putting it all together in terms of creating a lesson plan, so to speak, right? And these are just things that I do. The first thing I do is I identify my topic. Now you can have a main lesson or unit study or whatever you want to call it based on any topic, any book, any mode of learning, right? You can do it on handwork if you want to do handcrafts with your kids. You can do it on Play-Doh if your kids like Play-Doh and you would just want to delve deeper into Play-Doh, right? Because that happens. And then so any topic that you could possibly think of. So this would work with if you're an unschooler, if you are, Charlotte Mason, if you are Waldorf, if you are mainstream, whatever you might be. This is just a very general outline of how I look at how I approach things in terms of creating a lesson out of it, right? And so the first thing I do is identify my topic. What is the topic I want to teach? What is the book I want to teach? Or what is the lesson I want to teach? Like, for example, when Ramadan rolled around, our main topic is Ramadan. Right? It's a very broad topic. And when Christmas rolls around, you can do one with Christmas. You can do one with anything really that, calls attention to you or you feel like would be a great topic to learn about or teach your kids. So basically a topic that speaks to you. Then the second thing I do is I bring in some living books. Now, what do I mean by living books? These are basically like what I do is I go online, I go on Pinterest, I go on Instagram, I go on social media and I look at what books people have, used, liked, shared, or sometimes I have my own little, section that I've saved books in. I usually go on my library website and then I'll look up all the books that are of that topic. A great resource is to ask your librarians. They are just packed with knowledge. And so they can bring out so many children's literature. They can bring out books that are topic sensitive for you. They can bring out just so much about it. And so bringing in some literature on that topic really helps, because I feel like stories and books like that, and books that are children's books specifically, really talk to the inner child, right, of the child. So that it talks to the inner being, and it really leaves behind that moral story. So even if your child does not catch that story, or it does not catch the meaning of the deeper depths of that story now, they may later, right? So I feel like it's a very and also to be very age specific or level specific, right? You don't want to pick a very intense book for really young children because they're not going to understand it very much. You want to pick something that is age appropriate to the child. The next thing I do is I identify skills I want to practice that unit, that set of lessons. So if I do a unit on for 4, like if I do main lesson for 4 weeks, right? If I say, okay, let's 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to do usually 6 ends up being a bit longer, and I leave room for that. So like, let's say this month we're going to do one certain topic. I pick out skills that we want to practice in that. For example, I have one of my blocks that I'm going to be doing is going to be on the stories of Rumi, right? Because I really like Rumi, and I will talk about that a little bit. So we're going to do a block on the tales of Rumi. And from there, what I've done is that I've picked out, okay, well, from the tales of Rumi, I want her to learn how to write. I want her writing skills to be nourished in that unit. So that's what I'll do. I'll focus on the writing on that one. I won't focus too much on her spelling. I won't focus so much on other things. I'll just focus on her stylistic writing, right? So you have to pick certain skills that you can focus on. You don't want to make it huge. You don't want to make it elaborate. You want to make them very specific, 2 or 3. Usually I do 2 or 3 because my kids are still younger. If your kids are in high school and such, you can go higher and you can have a couple of skills. You can have a list of skills and you can give that checklist to your child and say, you know what, this is the rubric. This is what we want to be focusing on this week. And having that conversation with the child is actually pretty good, especially when they're able to understand and work independently, because they understand that this is what we're focusing on this month, right? So identify skills that you want to practice. Usually I like to do something like, like, you know, borrowing from a different whole bunch of methods. I want to do something, I want to give them something new every day. I want to give them a new story or a new bit of the story every day. I want to give them something old, which is review, a practice that they can do. Like, let's say we did multiplication last month. We're going to practice that skill this month, right? This is going to be part of our practice. And then something that is going to be just a sharpening a skill, like something like, you know, like reading. Like if we're doing, let's say if we're doing a language arts block, right? I will give them, we'll have a story, right? That's something new. And every day we will talk about, or every 2-3 days, we will talk about a different story. And then we will sharpen our writing skills or our spelling skills based on what we're doing that week. And we will also practice a little bit of our math from our last block. So that's something new, something old, and something to practice, right? That's what I do with my kids. And then the next thing I do is I create lessons that are topic inspired. So they're inspired by that topic that you've chosen to do, but then they're based on the skills that you want to sharpen, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? You're basically taking from art, nature, crafts, hands-on activities, and you want to create a topic inspired lesson based on skills. Then another thing I've discovered has been really fun to do is that, like, when you work on something for a whole month or a large chunk of time, it's difficult to just conclude it like that, right? You just say, okay, we're done with our lessons for this unit, and now we're going to start our next unit. I feel like there should be like something that is a conclusive wrap up of the whole unit. Right. And so we like to do, you could either do like a main lesson book, you could create a book, but we like to do a project as well. So every month when we do that specific topic, we will have a project based on it. So this kind of taps into the understanding of project-based learning, right? So you will pick, like, for example, if you're doing math, you could do so many amazing activities with math, and you can do so many projects. It could be something small as, like, maybe your kid likes to, you know, use hammers and nails and such. You can create a project with that. It doesn't even have to be related. If you don't, you know, like if you're doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, you eat that a little birdhouse or something. It's just such an amazing way to put together all that knowledge of, you know, of math and many other things when you're doing something, you know, something tangible with it. Okay, so then we make a project, we make it fun, we make it play-based. You know, it could be something like putting on a puppet show. It could be making a book, like I'll show you guys. So when we did our Aesop ones, we did the month after that, we did an Aesop project book. I know it doesn't look too, you know, complicated, but it's like we had so much fun doing it. So this is what we did. So you do a project, and then the next thing that I try to remind myself to make sure I do is to let it sit, right? You don't want to rush their information and like be like, okay, let's test this now or figure that out right now. What I'd like to do is just let it sit, let it seep in, let it, go into their system, let them sit with it. And then what I'll do is I'll have a project-based or oral narration-based or skills-based final understanding or a wrap-up of. So when we do these projects, these end of the unit projects, that's kind of my assessment of them, right? I'm assessing how they've, how their writing has developed or how their spelling has developed, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't tend to do tests. Like I don't do a test at the end of our unit to see if all that information has sunk in. I go in with the assumption that the child will retain what information is appropriate for them at that age or at that level, and they will not retain the information that's extraneous for them. So just going in with that has really helped ease off the pressure of feeling like, what did they learn? How much did they learn? For me, it's easy to be like, well, they did learn because I have proof right here. There's a project that they finished, and you can see their writing. You can see how their writing has changed over time, how their spelling has changed over time. So doing a project really helps because throughout the year, you really see that development of the child and how the child has developed in terms of, their writing assessments or their math, etc. And now the last thing that I try to do is just a reminder to myself too, is not to rush it. Sometimes sometimes these units will take 4 weeks, sometimes they take a lot longer. And giving yourself that space to say, you know what, we're going to do this, we're going to finish it. For me, my goal is to teach them that, when you start something, you finish it. And so that's what we stick with. But if you feel like you want to, for me, rushing through the material does not help, right? Because for me, if they sense my feeling of rushing through it, and they will not, they react the same way, right? So I try my best not to rush through things. If things take longer, they take longer for us, whatever, we just go through it. We try to do as much as we can, and we make the best of the remaining time that we have. Another important thing that I try to do when I create these lessons for my kids is to include something for myself, something that's nourishing for me, something that's fun for me to do. For example, we did a math unit, right? And it was really awesome for me to just learn all the different ways multiplication comes together when we did the multiplication unit. It was just really amazing for me to see how the math comes together, how the numbers come together. And so I was really enjoying myself. So keeping an element of, you yourself in there. So maybe you want to do a lesson that speaks to you, right? You want to do stories that speak to you. You want to do things that you connect with, because then your children will, automatically catch on to that passion and that excitement that you have, and they will do the same. And so that's it, guys. That's kind of my little, I tried to put down as much as I could, as concisely as I could. But if you have other questions, please leave them in the comments. And I'm mainly making this because when I set out to be like, okay, how do you make a main lesson? What is a main lesson? I did not find just a rundown of how it should be done. And for me, that was I took a lot of research to figure it out. And so I felt like I should put this out there, for anyone else who's searching, just how I do mine, so you can be inspired and do your own version of it and do what you need to do, right? So this is just how we do things. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please, leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with others if you find this useful. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.